dogs to playing disc, it's always a good idea to have two of the exact same discs to play with your dog. That way, when your dog gets one, you can actually draw them back in to engage with you again if you have a second identical frisbee to keep their attention. This is one of the best ways to avoid that game of keep away, where you throw one frisbee, your dog catches it, and then they go off to enjoy their prize all by themselves. Well, that's not a very productive game of disc if we're having to convince our dogs to come back to us every single time. And so at the very, very foundation level, we want to avoid that problem as much as possible. So there's some things that you can do definitely to keep your dog's attention more on you and to prevent them from practicing bad habits such as keep away or maybe chomping on the disc. One of those things is to play in a smaller environment to begin with, so inside, as long as your dog has good traction, of course, and then that way there's not a big space for them to get away from you. They're kind of stuck in close proximity to you. Sometimes playing frisbee in your hallway works very, very well to begin with because there's no side-to-side movement. They're going to run back towards you with that disc. The other thing I've already mentioned is have another identical disc to convince them to come back to you. That way when you throw one, or you let them win the game of tug with one disc, you have another one you can start playing with. You can play with your disc, show them how amazing it is, and odds are they're going to come back in and investigate that one, either bringing their disc with them or dropping it and re-engaging with you, which is the ultimate goal, is to re-engage with you. The other thing you can try to do is put a leash on your dog. So this is particularly a good idea once you bring your disc game outside for the first time, even if you're in a nice fenced-in area. If you have a long line or a leash on your dog, maybe 10 foot that they're allowed to drag around, what can happen is you'll throw the disc for your dog, and now you can use that long line to prevent them from running off further. You're still going to use that second disc to convince them to come into you and to play with you rather than pull your dog towards you, because that's not a lot of fun. But it's just going to prevent them from getting too much distance from you. So those are definitely some things you can do to keep your dog from practicing that game of keep away. But I'm going to show you a couple of games that you can play with your dog to convince you that the game's about playing with you, the handler, versus just trying to win that frisbee. The first game that we're going to work on is called Switch. And what this is when your dog wins one disc, you're going to convince them to play with that second, to let go of the one that they won and come out and bite that other one you have. This is a great game of tug. Even if you don't want to tug with your dog, that biting the held frisbee is what we're going for. So what you're going to do is you're going to have two identical discs. You're going to play this in a small area. You're going to put a leash on your dog if you absolutely need to manage them from grabbing that disc and running away. You're going to get them engaged with that disc. So you're going to move that disc around kind of like a squirrel. So a squirrel would be kind of moving erratically. It's going to be jumping away. It's going to be moving away from the dog, encouraging that dog to come in and get it. I'm not going to be trying to put that disc in my dog's mouth or put it up to their face because a squirrel wouldn't jump into your dog's mouth, and so you want to make it a little bit more challenging. So move that disc around when your dog starts chasing it around. If they bite it, let them win. At this point, I don't care if they play a big game of tug or anything along those lines. If they bite, I want them to feel like that bite mattered and that bite made a difference. And that bite is what got them to win that disc. So let them win. Remember, you have your leash on your dog to prevent them from running away with it. So at that point, you're going to ignore your dog with their frisbee that they just won and get that second one going. You're going to move it around like a squirrel, let it dance around, and eventually your dog's going to go, oh, this one I have is pretty boring. And he's going to come out after that alive disc. And once again, once he bites it, you're going to let him win and start the game all over again with the disc he originally had. You're going to alternate between discs back and forth just like that. And that's the game of Switch. So let's go ahead and watch that game with one of my dogs here.
Alright, so you'll see I'll start the game with a little bit of tug, let him win, and then get that second one moving. I'll let him win that one, and back and forth just like this. Now it's becoming pretty predictable that he's going to let go and bite the other one, so I can add the cue in now.
Nice, buddy.
And all I'm doing is just pairing that word with the action he's already doing. And then I can go ahead and start working on standing up and creating this as a more disc-looking type of game. But nothing really changes. We tug, he wins, I call switch, and starting with that second disc.